Sebastián Saavedra,
James Jakes,
DJ Viso,
Charlie Kimball,
Kuma Sato,
Ed Carpenter,
Alex Tagnani,
Simona Di Silvestro,
Joseph Newgarden,
Marco Andretti.
Drivers, start your engine!
Simon Pagenaud, Justin Wilson,
Jerry Hildebrand,
Graham Rahal,
Sebastian Bourdais,
James Hinchcliffe,
Tony Kanaan,
Edu Gastronevich,
Scott Dixon, Dario Franchitti,
Will Power,
Ryan Hunter-Ray.
Indycar Radio presents exclusive live coverage of the IZOD Indycar Series. Paul Blevin leans out of the flag stand. He takes a look. We are green. And it's Scott Dixon who's starting to beat and bang on Ryan Hunter-Ray. He's got Hitch and then Elio Castroneves and Tony Kanaan in his rear view.
Graham Rahal goes to the outside of James Hinchcliffe. Hinchcliffe shuts the door.
Sato made a great pass to the inside of the setup in turn number 2.
Stop. Hunter-Ray down and away, and we expect Will Power.
Carpenter trying to hold off Scott Dixon and Tony Kanaan. A great three-car race in the lead. And we've got trouble.
Well, the whole year's come down to
Will Power got hung out to dry.
I don't know what to say.
Ryan Hunter-Ray has won the championship.
This is right, man. You win some, you lose some. You can't win them all, man. Take it with a grain of salt and move forward.
Getting set to go racing at Iowa Speedway on a warm Saturday evening. Mike King, Davey Hamilton, the entire IndyCar radio crew here to bring you all of the action. As qualifying continues for the Iowa Corn Indy 250 earlier today, Elio Castroneves, Marco Andretti, Will Power, Tony Kanaan, James Hinchcliffe, and Oriol Servia. Those drivers were the 6 fastest in single-lap qualifying here, and they have all automatically advanced to our third heat of the evening that will set the top 10 starting positions for tomorrow afternoon's Iowa Corn Indy 250. The top 2 finishers in each of our next 2 qualifying heats will also move on to that final 10-car third heat here this evening, and with that, they will have an opportunity to grab the Verizon P1 award, but Davey Hamilton, more importantly, 9 championship points to the winner of our third heat here this evening.
Yeah, we're going to see how these heats really work out. We did it last year, Mike, in a little bit different format, but points mean everything in this series. As tight as the points are in that top, the top 10 really in our series, this is very, very important. These heat races become another race, really.
Elio Castroneves comes in with a 16-point championship lead over Ryan Hunter-Ray. Marco Andretti is 50 points back. Takuma Sato fourth, 76 points back. Scott Dixon is fifth, 78 points back. It will be Dixon and Sato, Newgarden and Tagliani, Bourdais and Saavedra, Franchitti and Hunter-Ray, and Beatrice. Those are the 9 drivers that will start in heat race number 1. Nick Yeoman is one of our Exergen pit reporters working tonight's qualifying heats. Nick, what kind of conditions do we have for the drop of the green flag?
Well, like we've seen all day long, Mike King, still very warm. The ambient temperature right now at 89 degrees. That's about as warm as we've seen it all day long. The track temperature has cooled down just a bit. We saw it at about 116, 117 degrees, just 113 degrees. But the ambient temperature, 89, still pretty toasty, Mike, as we're set to go in heat race number 1.
Okay, here we go as the field will come into its 2-wide formation. In the back straight, Mark Janes, you're high atop the stand here, the main stand here on the front straight. We'll be calling the action. And, Mark, you can see them as they come through turn number 3.
Yep, got a great view, Mike, and we're waiting for him to hit the button. Scott Dixon does so first. He will tow Takuma Sato. Sebastian Bourdais jumps out of line. He goes 3 wide down the main straightaway.
Takuma Sato will work the high side. Scott Dixon the low line. Here comes Alex Tagliani, Ryan Hunter-Ray. Mark, he'll be the early mover as he moves to 4th.
Slipped through 3 cars to go all the way to 4th place, did Ryan Hunter-Ray. Clean so far as a threesome, including Sebastian Bourdais and his teammate Saavedra get together. Nobody really touches wheels, but Newgarden's right there in the middle of that mess.
Saturday night shootout, the first of 3 that will be run here this evening. The only 2 spots that really are going to be important here, Davey, are spots 1 and 2. The top 2 finishers in heat number 1 will move on to that third heat here this evening.
That's right. You want to be there. Unfortunately, Dario Franchitti, I don't know if he's struggling or he's just playing, just holding back and maybe trying to save something for them. But right now, he seems to be struggling in that last spot.
Yeah, Mark Janes, Dario Franchitti right now appears to be a bit off the pace as he and Anna Beatrice racing back there in that 8th and 9th spot.
Lost a couple of spots on the open. He is trailing Anna Beatrice by about 3 car lengths. Pretty good battle right now is the battle for fifth. It rages on in turn number 2. Joseph Newgarden looks to the bottom of Sebastian Saavedra as they come down the banking off of 2.
Got a battle for second place as Alex Tagliani. Davey looks like he's going to try the high line to his liking. Now he's going to try to get underneath the 14-car mark. James will watch, and Alex Tagliani working 1.
Half a groove higher on the racetrack through 1 and 2. Tagliani looks for some momentum off the banking, and he gets it. He'll slip to the bottom side of Sato. He can catch him, but he can't pass him just yet. He'll lift a little bit. The ABC supply machine with Takuma Sato pulls away. While those guys are sliced and dicing for position, the leader, Scott Dixon, pulls away. He has a very comfortable advantage as there's a 3-car battle for second off of 2.
Yeah, Ronner Ray, Davey, has managed to pull up to the battle between Tagliani and Sato. Tell us about this 7/8 mile bull ring.
Well, it's fast, Mike, and right now the preferred line is on the very bottom. I've seen a few guys running that second line, including Sebastian Saavedra, and he allowed Newgarden to get right underneath of him. And right now, Sato, he's protecting that bottom, making Tagliani try to go around the outside. Just doesn't seem to have the grip up there right now.
Scott Dixon had a bit of a challenge mark at the start of this race from Takuma Sato, but now has opened up about a 20-car length lead. The battle for second place continues behind him.
Little surprised Ryan Hunter-Reay hasn't been able to pull up on that twosome a little tighter. He looked awfully good at the start. He picked up a couple of positions, in fact. He currently rides around in 4th. All of a sudden now Dario wants to get a little racier. Maybe the handling's going away on the car of Anna Beatrice. I know Sebastian Bourdais no longer has a fast race car. Dario attempted the pass between 3 and 4, had to lift. That allowed Bia to pull away.
It's Scott Dixon, Takuma Sato, Alex Tagliani, and Ryan Hunter-Reay, your top 4 right now, as those 4 cars trying to break away just a bit. Joseph Newgarden wants to keep them in sight, and Davey, once again, the only 2 spots right now that are worth really considering belong to Scott Dixon and Takuma Sato, as both would have the opportunity to advance to our 3rd and final heat of the evening.
Yeah, but Alex Tagliani gets a point in that 3rd spot. The only point-paying position in this race is a 3rd spot, 1 point, which that means something as well.
Okay, Alex Tagliani, Mark, continues to work on Sato in turn number 1.
This time he may make it stick. He's awfully low. You don't want to get down in that pit exit lane because that'll upset the balance of the race car. Sato looks awfully fast off of turn number 2. Tagliani has to lift a bit between 3 and 4. Not a pass for position yet. Sato holds on to second place.
Yeah, they're still working that spot very, very hard. Tagliani just can't seem to get the run that he needs to get past the 14 car. Let's get an update. One of our Exergen pit reporters on Anna Beatrice. Michael Young, you've got some information?
Yeah, guys, they missed qualifying a little bit earlier. Reason being, as we assume, they were changing the engine in that machine. They wanted to get through this racing session through heat number 1. Unfortunately, the engine expired before that happened, but looking a little bit quick as she tries to get around Bourdais here in this heat number 1.
David, we talk about just how fast this 7/8 mile graduated banking, 12 to 14 degrees, the graduated banking in the corners, but just how fast this place is. The single lap qualifying record coming in was set by Scott Dixon back in 2007 at 182.360. Elio Castroneves obliterated that mark this afternoon at 185.687 miles an hour. Sounds like, Davey, a huge gap, but really it means Elio was about a quarter of a second faster on that lap than Scott was in 2007.
Yeah, and in comparison, Mike, just remember a few weeks back at Texas Motor Speedway where they changed the rules a little bit. These guys were dropping to the 180s, 190s in that race on a 1.5 mile high bank. They're going that fast on this little teeny 7/8 mile track. So that kind of tells you the speed these guys are carrying around this little 7/8 bull ring.
Scott Dixon turned his last lap, Mark Janes, at 177.491, and he is showing no signs of slowing down as he continues to pull away.
Well, Dario Franchitti, we're watching him at the rear of the field. He was able to get around the 18 car of Anna Beatrice, and now they're hooked up in a battle. Dario made a move on Sebastian Bourdais between 3 and 4. He lost a ton of momentum. Next thing you know, he loses the spot to Anna Beatrice. So instead of moving up in front of Bourdais, he now finds himself at the rear of the field once again as Scott Dixon enjoys about a half a straightaway lead as the leader comes off of turn number 4, leading Sato, Tagliani, and Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Davey, last time by, Franchitti turned a lap at 167.616. He's nearly 10 miles an hour off the pace being set by his teammate Scott Dixon.
Well, he's not that far from going to go a lap down. He's basically only a little over a straightaway away. And when's the last time you've seen the Ganassi cars be bookends of a race? One in first, one in last, and seems to be struggling. He did make that pass on Anna. He's going to make it again right now. Anna made a move on Bourdais, lost a lot of momentum. It looks like Dario's going to catch her down in turn 1, but can he do anything with her?
So we show 18 laps of the 50 that make up heat race number 1. Dixon and Sato right now appear to be the drivers to beat for the transfer positions. If they move on, they will join Elio Castroneves, Marco Andretti, Will Power, Tony Kanaan, James Hinchcliffe, and Oriol Servia, the other 6 drivers that are already in. Now, coming up in our second heat race will be the drivers led by Ed Carpenter. So it will be Carpenter, Vautier, Kimball, Jakes, Vizo, Pagano, Graham Rahal, and let's see, we've got one more driver, Simone Silvestro will also, and so will Justin Wilson, will also be a part of that second heat. But we still got more than half of this heat remaining. So keep our eye on the leader, Scott Dixon. As Mark James right now, Dixon and Sato kind of having a race amongst themselves. They're really not racing with each other, but they're so comfortable right now as far as their leads. They have pulled well in front of Alex Tagliani, who runs third.
Yeah, about the only thing we see in terms of a battle is at the rear of the field between Sebastian Bourdais and Anna Beatrice. They're running pretty much nose to tail. We thought Dario was going to be a player in that three-way battle, but Dario's car continues to struggle, especially difficult for cornering for Dario between turns 1 and 2. But the leader, Scott Dixon, no question, awfully hooked up. And Mike, as he comes off of turn number 2, he can see the rear wing of his teammate entering turn number 3. Don't know if Dario can hold his teammate off over the next 25 laps or not as we prepare for the halfway point of this first heat race.
Okay, Davey, if I remember correctly, we're running the right side Iowa compound that we ran here last year from Firestone, but the left side tires, same compound that we saw at Texas a couple of weeks ago. So, we're also seeing here a stagger of nearly a half an inch. I think it's about 4,500 hundredths.
Yeah, well, when everybody's going to have the same thing. That's the good thing about it now. What we don't know is what's that left side tire combination going to change in the long run. I mean, we've seen qualifying. Obviously, they were faster. Elio just had a track record of blistering lap. They're running fast right now, Mike. I mean, they're in the what was the last
high
lap?
170s.
Yeah, that's right. So running pretty darn fast around here.
Dixon's dropped off just a bit last time, and Mark, with that, Sato is running more than a mile an hour faster than Scott Dixon right now. Dixon last time by Mark at 174.442. Sato at 175.732. To Mark in just a second. Let's get an update from Dario Franchitti from Nick Yeoman.
Yeah, I just heard Dario Franchitti jump on the radio and tell Chip Ganassi and everybody in the crew that the car is absolutely terrible right now. And the confusing thing for Dario is they are running basically an identical setup as Scott Dixon, who is dominating this first heat race. So a lot of guys down in the target pit scratching their heads because Dario not happy with that race car, and he's certainly voicing his displeasure on the radio, Mike.
Mark, we are seeing Takuma Sato pull up on Scott Dixon in a hurry. He's cut the lead in half.
Yeah, he is pedaling plenty hard, no doubt about that. He's got it down to about 10 car lengths. Meanwhile, Ryan Hunter-Reay looks like he is entertaining thoughts of battling for that third position. He, too, is starting to pull up on the car that he is pursuing. That's the number 98 machine of Alex Tagliani. But each and every lap, Takuma Sato inches ever closer to Scott Dixon. He's really pulling up now off the exit of turn 4.
Davey seems to be trimming about a tenth a lap here over the last 4 or 5 laps as this time by, now he actually lost a tenth that time. It's back up to a little over 0.8 of a second. Really not imperative that Takuma Sato pass Scott Dixon here. I mean, he can run up on him, see how the car runs in some dirty air, but he doesn't have to win this heat to transfer.
No, these two guys, it's a mute spot. Those are the two transferees going in, so no sense risking it. And right now they both have a big lead over that third place, so Sato's probably thinking, you know what, don't burn my car up, make sure I get second and not try to make a mistake going for the lead. So if they stay where they're at and they get to, it looks like they're going to catch some lap traffic before this is over.
Well, the laps are going away quickly. Michael Young, an update on Takuma Sato?
Yeah, guys, in the morning session, they were trying to milk this engine through these heat races tonight. They had to put a new engine in the morning, so in the morning session, or when they got done with that morning session, so that's a brand new engine. Takuma Sato, maybe why he's just a touch quicker this latter portion of the heat than Scott Dixon.
Now, Mike, had he mileaged out the other engine, or will he take the 10-spot grid penalty for an unapproved engine change?
From what I talked to from the guys in the crew, they were really, really close, but they did not hit that. So they were hoping, that's what I said, they were hoping to get through that heat tonight, and that would have got them over the top, but they had to change it before they mileaged it out.
Anna Beatrice with a pass for position, Mark, as she gets past Sebastian Bourdais. Now we'll try to reel in Sebastian Saavedra. Doesn't look like, though, that she's going to have nearly enough here in the late going, Mark, to be able to work her way anywhere near the front as she's got the leaders They're going to be knocking on her door along with Dario Franchitti here in about 2 or 3 laps.
Yes, Dario is exiting 2. Dixon is halfway between 1 and 2. Bia makes a nice run at the exit of turn number 2. She is going to work on Sebastian Saavedra here in a minute. She's pulled to within a half a car length now, pulling up on Saavedra as they get ready for turn 1.
Davey, would appear that as the stint goes longer, that Bia's car is getting better, certainly.
Yeah, or she's saying the same and they're getting worse, but she's definitely she's going to go underneath Saavedra right now, going into 3, and she's going to make that pass.
Well, she's running laps still at nearly 174 miles an hour. The race leaders, Scott Dixon and Takuma Sato, turning laps in the 172 mile an hour range. So, Davey, as it looked like last time by, Anna Beatrice, one of the quick, if not the quickest car on the track right now.
That's impressive. Good for her. Had a motor change. Obviously, didn't get to qualify. She's going to start towards the back. Well, no, she doesn't. She starts at the back of this heat, but is moving her way up in the grid for the race tomorrow.
37, soon to be 38 of 50 laps complete, so 12 remaining, Mark, as the leaders are going to at least get an opportunity to see how the car is going to handle in traffic tomorrow night, as they will come up on some lap traffic here these final couple of laps.
Yeah, now Saavedra, Bourdais, and Franchitti are the ones rolling together. Anna Beatrice, as she was able to clear that threesome, she's started to pull away a little bit. Takuma Sato doesn't look like he's going to catch Scott Dixon, but let's check in on pit road. Larry Foyt probably is pretty happy with that race car at this point.
Yeah, and he is watching Takuma Sato kind of stalk Scott Dixon down the front straightaway, instructing his driver that there are just 10 laps to go. Larry Foyt, obviously the concern right now, I would guess, is not as much catching Dixon as holding off Tagliani.
Yeah, I think the car's pretty good. We just got to see catching some lap traffic. That's more what I'm concerned about.
Everything okay with that engine, with the change this morning?
Yeah, I think everything's fine. So Skimma did a good job. We didn't really get to try anything with qualifying trim in practice, so this is a good practice for us.
Handful of laps for Larry Foyt, watching his driver Takuma Sato stalk Scott Dixon, guys.
Okay, Davey, if you're one of these drivers, obviously not challenging to transfer into this third heat. If you're Dario Franchitti, for example, the 4-time champion, do you just go back to your team and say, boys, we got to make some wholesale changes before we race here tomorrow?
Oh, without. Obviously, they say that it's the same setup between the two cars of Scott Dixon, who's leading this, and dead last of Dario Franchitti, but maybe it's not, or maybe it's just not to his liking. He needs to change something. So, for sure, he has to lose at this point, Mike, and we've seen teams do this before that struggle in a practice or a qualifying, and they come out really strong in the race. And trust me, that Target team, they want to get on a podium. They haven't been there yet this year.
Yeah, Davey, the one problem for Joseph Newgarden is he runs out there pretty much by himself in 5th place. He really hasn't had to race anybody. He really hasn't had an opportunity to feel that car in any real turbulent air. He's just kind of running by himself right now.
Yeah, no turbulent air, which is a disadvantage somewhat. But it's the good thing with that is he does know what his car is going to do in a long run and balance-wise, and that's probably more important than the dirty air. And right now, Ryan Hunter-Reay, he's not going to give up on that third spot with Alex Tagliani.
Yep, so Mark James with just under 5 laps remaining, the battle for third as Ryan Hunter-Reay trying to reel in Tag.
Entrance to turn number 3 was way too late. He was right on the rear wing of Alex Tagliani, and he had to lift. And when you do that here, you just lose a ton of momentum. But he is back into it full throttle and looks to make an attempt to grab another spot on the starting grid now as he tries to chase down Tagliani at the exit of 2.
Leaders last time by 168.960 for Scott Dixon. Takuma Sato 170.544. And as we get set to complete 47 laps, Michael Young, you make a very good point. That race for third right now, that is worth a championship point.
Yeah, guys, they're not transferring to the next heat, but they will get a point. The championship points drop all the way to 11th and 12th here at Iowa, so that extra championship point just may make or break the championship at the end of the year. So Ryan Hunter-Reay garnering all he can get here the latter part of the season.
Yeah, let's remember that Ryan Hunter-Reay came into this weekend's event after the win at Milwaukee, looking for a second consecutive win here at Iowa. And Mark only trails Elio Castroneves by 16 points. He'll make another run at Tag.
Yep, it's tightening up plenty with just a lap left. The white flag is out. Ryan Hunter-Reay make a strong bid to grab that spot. He'll run a half a groove higher, try to get some momentum after turn number 2. He has a big-time wiggle at the exit of turn number 2, and it looks like Tags is going to hold on to that spot.
Here comes Scott Dixon. He led all 50 laps, and so Scott Dixon will win heat race number 1. Takuma Sato will finish second. Alex Tagliani will pick up the championship point, finishing third, but Tag will not transfer. So it will be Scott Dixon and Takuma Sato transferring to the third heat tonight. They will join Elio Castroneves, Marco Andretti, Will Power, Tony Kanaan, James Hinchcliffe, and Oriol Servia, along with the drivers that run 1-2, Davey, in heat number 2. So 50 clean laps, and if for nothing else, I'm happy I'm Dario Franchitti, because I did not want to show up and have that race car waiting for me on the grid for tomorrow's race.
For 250 laps.
That's right.
And, you know, the points, you look at the points right now, I know there's another heat race, so it's not going to end this way, but Scott Dixon just gained 2 points, putting himself from 5th to 3rd in the points on that run right there, and then Ryan Hunter-Reay put himself into the lead.
Yep. Of course, we're not sure that the final count as of this point
no,
yet.
because there's another heat.
That's exactly. And before it's over with, Dixon could wind up with 9 championship points.
Right.
Before this night is over with. So it could be a very good night for Ryan Hunter, for really any of the drivers, Elio Castroneves, any of the drivers that transfer into that final heat that could take home those points. So with that, heat race number 1 is in the books. Here's your final rundown. Dixon and Sato, they will transfer on. Alex Tagliani finished 3rd. As we mentioned, he will pick up a single championship point for the 3rd place finish. Ryan Hunter-Reay winds up 4th. Joseph Newgarden was 5th. Anna Beatriz was 6th. And let's see, as for the rest of the field, Sebastian Saavedra, Sebastian Bourdais, and Dario Franchitti. Let's go to pit lane. One of our Extra Gen pit reporters is Michael Young.
Looked like a little Saturday evening stroll for Scott Dixon out there. Nice run. Obviously, you got into the lap traffic, the latter part of the run. Talk about the car going into heat number 3.
Yeah, it seemed okay. I think we overshot maybe on the balance a little bit. Started out, decent. Got pretty loose with sort of, 15 to 20 to go. Ran out of adjustments in the car, so we'll work on a little bit. Hopefully, it'll be a bit better. It was just tough. I think we're good. The team's good. We're just lacking a bit of pace at the minute. So looking forward to the next heat race, and maybe we'll move up a couple. And
an opportunity to gain more points, big picture wise.
Yeah, it definitely helps. It's definitely a strange sort of thing we have here tonight with heat races and things like that. I guess it's the same for everybody. We just got to make the most of it.
Nice job.
Thanks, man.
Scott Dixon's your winner in heat number 1, guys.
Okay, Davey, explain to us exactly what Scott was talking about when he said, I ran out of adjustments to make. The car was going loose on me, and I ran out of adjustments. What's he talking about?
Yeah, so what you have there, you have anti-roll bars in the front of the cars and back to where you could adjust the balance of the car with those, and you have a weight jacker in those cars as well. And when you run out, that means that he was probably all the way soft on the back, all the way stiff on the front, and then had as much as the weight jacker, more than likely in the right rear of that car, out of it that he possibly could to try to tighten the car up and make it so it wasn't loose. So
at that point, what becomes all right foot?
So then you just got to drive it. That's right. And so the good thing with that, though, he knows that he went all that way. So you could almost put the car past that, put those back to a neutral position, and then make your adjustments past that to where that you hope that those adjustment bars are always in the middle. So if a car gets pushy, gets loose, whichever one, that you have adjustments from there.
And Davey, this is a 7/8 mile track. This wasn't. These 50 lappers are not quite a stint, not quite a full stint, but it still will give these drivers a good idea of how far these tires are going to drop off.
Really good indication. Yeah, they should be able to go at 65 or maybe 70. I haven't really checked the exact strategy out on fuel, but somewhere in that area. But yeah, that's a pretty good indication right there. That 50 laps of what your car is going to do on a full fuel load and a tire run. And you know what? Right now it's still very hot out there, which it seems going to be tomorrow. So it's a really good indication what you're going to have for tomorrow's race.
Okay, Nick Yeoman has our 3rd place runner in heat race number 1, Alex Tagliani. Nick?
Yeah, strong at the beginning of the run, Alex, but trying to run down Sato and Dixon without a caution. Awfully tough out there.
I mean, it was a short race. I mean, 50 laps is not long for any means, but I think we still have a bit of work to do on the balance of the car to make sure that we're good on all tires. But early on we were good. We were good on the top side. Takuma was using the whole track, and I was trying to pin him down low. And then when he took the high side off me, I tried to go down on the inside of turn 1, and I made it through. But then on the exit, he kind of got back and enough to get back in front of me in turn 3 and took my air off. So it was one of those things where we needed to make it happen right away, but we couldn't do it.
All right, good luck tomorrow.
Thanks, bud.
That is Alex Tagliani. He ends up 3rd in heat race number 1.
Okay, and of course we'll be setting the starting lineup for you for the entire grid as soon as we wrap up our 3rd and final heat. But we've got our 2nd heat yet to go after 50 laps of clean green racing in heat race number 1. And once again, Scott Dixon and Takuma Sato transfer out of that heat into the 3rd and final heat. Carpenter, Vautier, Kimball, Jakes, Vizo, Pagano, Rahal, Wilson, and DeSilvestro. Those are the 9 drivers, Michael Young, that make up our second heat, and those cars being pushed to the grid on pit lane right now.
Yeah, we're talking with Ryan Hunter-Ray, who finished 4th in that first heat, and I know you wanted to get that 3rd place at least to get that championship point. How was the car?
It's just it was way off the mark. I mean, we've been sitting on our own thumbs all day today. We just missed it today. So, number 1 DHL team will have to regroup and come back tomorrow because we're starting buried in the pack. We gave up points today. Important day, and we just missed it a bit. But it's live to fight another day, and that's tomorrow.
Mixed emotions about this qualifying format, but those extra 50 laps at least let you know that you guys need to still make some adjustments.
Yeah, I've known that all day. We definitely know that we need to make adjustments. That's a good way to put it.
There you go. Ryan Hunter-Ray finishes 4th. Obviously, very disappointed in that car, guys.
Yeah, he was 22nd, Davey, after single lap qualifying. Ryan Hunter-Ray was certainly aware that car was not exactly where he wanted it.
Yeah, but as Michael said, without this heat race, they made adjustments after qualifying. Right? They made adjustments where they thought the car was okay, and that would have been tomorrow in the race. That's
right.
The setup he would have had. So this definitely helps him a lot, and he has one more stab at it to make some more adjustments before the race comes around.
So, Davey, your take as a team owner and a driver, a guy who's done both, and to come to a racetrack, and you also have the short track background, so you've done an awful lot of running in heat races to transfer into features, if you will. Your take on this qualifying format, because I personally kind of like the heat race format being worked into a part of qualifying. I do think there's something there.
It could be. One thing that I'm not sure about is you never want somebody to have an advantage, okay, over the next competitor. And the way this format is, the first 2 finishers in each heat race have an advantage over the rest of their competitors. The reason why, Mike, just like Scott Dixon said, the cars seem to go loose. He gets to make adjustments. Go try it again.
Right.
Okay, so you got 4 guys, Sato and Dixon for sure, and you got 2 other guys going to come out of this heat race that really have more of an advantage than the rest of the field because everybody else gets 1 shot. They get 2. Of adjusting their car and trying to make it right.
So you're saying the fact that they get to participate in 2 of the heat races.
Right. Yeah, because it's just one more change that they have opportunity to make. Go try it out to see if it works for their car.
Yeah, so given, for example, the top 6 fastest runners in single-lap qualifying, Elio, Marco, Will, TK, Hinch, and Servia.
Yeah.
Well, they automatically transferred. Would you have preferred, if you'd been one of those drivers, to have 2 heats as well?
Well,
because if they miss it in that 3rd heat, they're not going to have another opportunity.
I'm not saying that you don't want to be the fastest 6. That's the heat you want to be in. There's no question about it because your car's pretty darn good. But for the guys like I say Sato and Dixon, they get an extra shot going, okay, guys, that I was a little loose. Let's change it. We're going to go out for another 50 laps. Let's see what it does that 50. And then they can change it again for the race again tomorrow. So they have more of an opportunity to fine-tune their cars than the rest of the field.
Right. Let's hear what Joseph Newgarden has to say about his race car as he winds up 5th, Nick Yeoman, in this first heat.
Yeah, and the thing I want to ask Joseph Newgarden about is the beginning of that heat race because it almost looked like you guys were trying to go 4 wide into turn 1. How wild was that?
Yeah, it was a little nuts. I had to pull out because I don't think that the 2 guys beside me knew that we were 3 wide, and I was the sandwich meat. So I'm glad that ended okay and didn't end in disaster. But we didn't have a good start. We hit an overboost and I just went backwards. It's not what I wanted to do. I think if we would have had a good start, we probably would have done that the other way. But we didn't have the pace at the beginning. We struggled with the balance, and I think we were strong at the end. So for racing conditions, that would have been okay. But in a sprint race like this, that doesn't work. You got to be strong for the whole 50, and we weren't. So, but tomorrow I think we'll have a good car for the whole stint.
I was going to say confidence level for tomorrow, though, still pretty high.
Yeah, I think so. We have a quick car. Surface Sharpman Racing, they do a great job, and we got the Go Wichita on the car this weekend, which is pretty cool. So we got a bunch of local companies on, and it's great to have support from all of Wichita. And I think we'll be strong tomorrow. I really do. I think over a stint and then the whole race in general, I think we'll have a very strong car.
All right, Joseph Newgarden ends up 5th in heat race number 1.
I want to remind you, 2 o'clock Eastern time, that's our airtime tomorrow for the Iowa Corn Indy 250. We'll have our pre-race show, and then, of course, we'll bring you all of the action from Newton, Iowa and Iowa Speedway. Hope you're going to join us. And, of course, we want to say a big welcome to all of you joining us tonight on Sirius XM 211 on IndyCar.com, IndyCarRadio.com, and what is quickly becoming one of the most popular ways to keep up with the series. That's that Verizon app for your smartphone, IndyCar 13, as a lot of folks on IndyCar.com and the IndyCar 13 app, Davey, enjoying not just our commentary, but also seeing all the live video accompanying the call tonight here from Iowa Speedway, and that's something the fans have been asking for quite a while.
Yeah, they've been asking for it, and I'm glad it's finally happened. There's a lot of things I think that the fans would love, and including press conferences and post-race reports and things like that I feel we have a great opportunity to give them, and they just need to be able to see it.
Okay, so once again, we're getting set now as the cars are lined up to roll off of pit lane in heat race number 2. Ed Carpenter and Tristan Vautier will start in row number 1. Charlie Kimball and James Jakes will be in row number 2. E.J. Vizo and Simon Pagenaud will line up in row number 3. Graham Rahal, he is trying to right, Davey, what has been a very bad weekend, a very bad couple of weekends for Graham Rahal. He'll be next to Justin Wilson and Simone Di Silvestro, who will start in 9th. But Graham, that whole team, they really kind of need to right the ship.
Yeah, who knows what's going on there. I mean, they have a teammate in James Jakes, and seems to be running pretty darn good at most of the races. And you know that they're sharing that information, but it's just no different than we've seen with Dario and Dixon saying, hey, the car has had the same setup, but they're not reacting the same. They're not the same driver. The driver style may be different. Or there may be something different with these cars. Is something, that they haven't caught yet, just wrong yet, and not getting to Graham's liking? Who knows? But he's ready. He's definitely ready to get that car the way he likes it so he can perform.
Nick Yeoman, yes, it is technically evening. We still have plenty of sunshine, and it's a long way from cooling off down there.
The nice thing, Mike, is that we've had a fairly steady breeze all evening, and that has kind of cooled it down a bit at times on pit lane. Right now, though, the ambient temperature is still at 90 degrees, and my handy-dandy Weather Channel app told me that said with the 60% humidity level that it feels like it's about 100 degrees. So the track temperature right now warming up as well. Right now it is at 108 degrees. So, yeah, still pretty muggy conditions, warm conditions down here on pit lane.
Davey, for these fans who are directly below us, who are in the shade of the time and scoring tower and the suites, perfect shirt sleeve weather for them. They've got the shade, and they've got the 84, 85 degree temperatures. They're loving it.
They're loving it right there. Yeah. But the ones in the sun with the humidity up like it is,
they still need a program to fan themselves for sure. Been a good weekend so far. And a little bit later this evening, Mark Janes, we're going to be seeing Firestone Indy Lights action as Carlos Munoz, our championship leader, he'll be on the pole for the 4th time this season, and Munoz is once again the driver to beat.
Yeah, a guy battling for the championship did not have a qualifying run. Peter Dempsey will roll off in the 8th position, Mike, and it'll be interesting to see if Brian Bellardi's crew is able to effect the changes necessary to that car to make it faster come race time. But certainly no question, it has been quite a 2013 for Carlos Munoz. That is his 4th pole. He's picked up a couple of wins on the season. And, oh, by the way, he was the Indianapolis 500 Rookie of the Year, started in the middle of the front row, and finished on the podium. So a charmed season becomes even more so with his pole here at Iowa, and Carlos Munoz looking to put a little bit of a stranglehold on the battle for the points championship in the 2013 Firestone Indy Lights Championship battle.
Coming up at 8:40 Eastern Time, 7:40 local here in Iowa, you'll be able to tune in to Sirius XM 211, IndyCar.com, and IndyCar 13. You'll be able to hear Mark Janes, Pippa Mann, and Michael Young as they bring you all of the action. Davey and I will be heading over to the TV booth, and we'll be getting that done for the NBC Sports Network as Carlos Munoz and Jack Hawksworth will start on the front row in the Firestone Indy Lights event here later this evening. Zach Veach and Jorge Goncalves will go off in row number 2. Sage Karam and Gabby Chavez will go off in row number 3. And Juan Pablo Garcia and Peter Dempsey will start in row number 4. And for Peter Dempsey, Davey, that guy's lately has been leading a pretty good life. Last thing he wants to do is finish last in a race, so he's going to have to come from 8th and find his way to the front.
Yeah, no doubt about it. After the, he no matter what happens this season from here on out, he's going to be pretty happy.
He'll always be remembered for winning the greatest finish in the history of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Absolutely. And then so when you have that underneath your belt and being this at that racetrack and that Freedom 100 race, pretty special times. Everybody wants to win that in that series, and he was able to pull it off in spectacular fashion.
There have been several publications around the country outside of Indianapolis. One in Birmingham, one in Miami, one out on the West Coast. I'm not sure if it was the LA Times who conducted a survey shortly after that race about the greatest finish in the history of motorsport. And in every poll, in every newspaper, that race won, the 4-wide finish of the Firestone Indy Lights Freedom 100. that was decided. Davey, it is a little crazy when you think about it. A guy going from fourth to first in the final 200 yards, and a guy going from first to fourth.
Yeah.
In the final, and all of them finishing stacked up 4 wide at the yard of bricks, separated by total about 1,000th of a second, but 26 10,000 separating first and second.
Yeah, when you come off turn four people, the top 4 cars, and none of them finished the way they came off of turn 4.
That's a pretty good finish.
Pretty wild.
Yep. So we are standing by and should see the raised yellow flag to indicate that we are 1 minute away from starting engines any moment. Got to admit, Davey, a little more downtime between these heats than what I expected.
Yeah, a little more downtime than I expected as well. And then you know that in between the next one, you got to give these guys that transfer a little bit of time to get their cars ready to come into to the final heat.
Okay, let's go back to pit lane and Nick Yeoman. Nick?
Yeah, Davey makes a great point, and that is one reason we haven't been able to talk to Takuma Sato, because he and Scott Dixon advancing on to that third heat race. This is very, very valuable time for those drivers to get out of those race cars, meet with the engineers and strategists, and debrief about what they just experienced, because they've got a very similar 50-lap heat race ahead for the third one that all the points are going to be on the line. So this was a very important time for Takuma Sato and Scott Dixon to talk with those crew guys, work on those setups, and really relay that information of what's working and perhaps what's not working, Mike.
We're less than a minute away from firing engines. Davey, I'm not so sure that Scott Dixon may not wind up being the driver to beat in this third heat, given that he had a good car in heat number 1, has a lot of time now, as you mentioned, to make the adjustments. He knows what he wants to do to the car, and he is going to be able to jump into a race car that he was just in a few minutes prior and be able to head back out. Now he's going to have to pass some cars to get to the front, but I have a feeling Dixon may make some noise when we get underway.
Well, Sato as well. I mean, Sato was right there with Dixon running equal laps to him, so he's also, like I said, that these guys there's 4 guys, especially these 2, that have the time to change their cars, really think about it, and have another opportunity to change them and go run another 50 laps.
Mark Janes, do my ears deceive me, or do we have engines started down on pit lane?
Yes, we hear the engines firing just below us as we speak, as the yellow flag is in the air, indicating it's just about time for the pace car to pull away. It does so as we speak. So we will see Ed Carpenter lead the grid, along with Christian Vautier, then Charlie Kimball and James Jakes, then E.J. Vizo and Simon Pagino. Then the car of Graham Rahal and Justin Wilson, and Simona Di Silvestro is away. So all of the cars set to participate in this second heat race tonight at Iowa Speedway have all fired, and they're making their way along the back straightaway now. Okay, we know, as always, we've got a lot of fans joining us on IndyCar.com and IndyCar 13. Want to invite you to drop us a line. We'll do the fan shout-out, let everyone know who's watching, who's listening, and where you are tonight. Here on this Saturday evening, as we're bringing you the action from Iowa Speedway. The email address is mking@brickyard.com. Again, it's mking@brickyard.com, and we'll get to all those fan shout-outs at the end of heat race number 2, as we'll have a few minutes of downtime before we get the cars back out on track for the third and final heat of the evening. Davey, who do you like in this one? Obviously, you've got a vested interest in Mr. Pagino as he rolls out. What kind of changes did you make on the 77 car after qualifying?
Well, we didn't make a lot. We made a little bit of a gearing change, Mike, first off, but Simon just made a mistake. When he pulled out of the pits to qualify, he almost spun down the back straightaway. And even though that's that little bit of time that he had to slow down, come to a stop, just the momentum wasn't there. We missed our gearing a little bit. Car balance I don't think is that bad. We're going to find out in this first 50. We really don't know either what it's going to do in long runs. But right now, I mean, Ed's got that Chevrolet. He's on the pole. I think he's going to be tough to beat.
Chevys have been dominant here this weekend as Mark Janes, the Fuzzy's Ultra Premium Vodka car, leads them into turn number 1 behind the Corvette pace car.
I'm anxious to see if Justin Wilson has anything for the field tonight. It's been an unusually quiet weekend for Justin. He's been pretty solid. The results haven't always panned out, but by and large, he's been pretty competitive week in and week out, especially when it comes to race day. Before they go green, Nick Yeoman.
And the driver I think I'm going to keep my eye on is that driver that's going to start 5th. E.J. Viso has a Chevrolet. His Andretti Autosport teammates have been pretty strong so far this weekend, Mike King. So Viso starting 5th. Can he jump up 3 spots and get into the heat race, number 3?
What do you think, Michael Young? You got a pick for this one?
Well, if I had to pick right now, I would go with Ed Carpenter, just simply the fact that he's great on these ovals and he's got that Chevrolet. But, you know, you never can pick at this Iowa Speedway, especially as short and as quick as it is, and especially with these drivers getting in that lap traffic. I was a little surprised. We got about 25, 26 in, and they were already catching the rear of the field. It'll be interesting to see if Ed can do that to the rear of this small field in heat number 2.
Okay, 9 races, second heat race, 50 laps here at Iowa Speedway. Carpenter has the inside line. The green flag is out, and we are racing at Iowa Speedway. Ed will lead him across the line. Vautier runs second. Here comes Charlie Kimball. He'll look to the low side mark, but he doesn't make the move, loses a lot of momentum in 1.
Vautier tried to get some balance to the race car to sneak to the bottom side of Ed Carpenter. Couldn't get that done. Vautier loses a couple of spots. Jakes picks up third. Charlie Kimball to the bottom side of Vautier off of turn 4.
Boy, look at Simon Pagenaud go. He almost pushed James Jakes out of the way trying to get the spot, and Davey's up here pumping his fist. Davey, you like what you see, and Pagenaud is rolling right now.
Yeah, I'm not scared of that. I like third. Third looks good to me. I mean, we didn't know, like I say, he made a mistake qualifying. Right now he's running strong, but it's still a long ways to go, Mike. 1 lap, so he made a lot of good time up in 1 lap, though.
2 of 50 complete. The teammates, Mark James, the Smith-Peterson, Smith-Hamilton cars of Vautier and Pagenaud run behind the leader, Ed Carpenter.
Pagenaud fast. Graham Rahal trying to get around E.J. Vizo toward the rear of the field. Currently, Ed Carpenter runs a half a groove higher than those teammates running behind him, the 55 and the 77. James Jakes with sole command of 4th place. Rounding out the top 5, Charlie Kimball.
They're getting him wound up now. Last time by at 173 miles an hour for the leader, Ed Carpenter. Vautier at 171.9 and Pagenaud at 172.2 across the line this time. And Ed Carpenter is just about the same, Davey, about 173.6. As we continue to watch now the battle for second. Mark James heating up. Here comes Pagenaud.
Went high, then slipped low. They'll run side by side to the apex of 3, giving him some room to the high side. Vautier and Pagenaud might have bumped wheels a couple of times off of 4 and then at the start-finish line. They're still hooked up. Pagenaud, the 77 HP machine, finally clears him at the exit of 2.
Boy, David, we don't see a lot of 2-wide racing through the corners here, but those guys decided to make it look easy.
Yeah, well, I didn't really like that much, but it was. I mean, there's some rubber on the side of the cars, I'm pretty sure, but Simon seems to have a good car right now.
James Jakes right now trying to work on Vautier, but when we say that
Rahal
here, yeah, look at Rahal on the high side. Marcus Rahal's going to pick up 1 and maybe 2 spots going into 3.
All of a sudden, he's hooked up in that Midas machine. Graham Rahal sees the car wash high. He gathers it back in, and all of a sudden, he goes from 7th to 4th, and he's starting to work on the car of Tristan Vautier. As we say that, James Jakes wants to come storming back off of turn number 2. Now behind Jakes, Charlie Kimball looks fast.
So Charlie Kimball, who has made a couple of moves to the inside only to lose the momentum. Graham Rahal, Mark, looks like that car's really working well on the high side.
He's using all the racetrack, no question, and the car appears to be very comfortable to the high side. He'll glide down the banking at the exit of 2. Last couple of times, he's picked up all kinds of momentum off of turn number 4. He pulls up on Vautier to the high side. He'll stay there, pull up to the rear wheels. Now he'll go to the bottom side. Now go back to the high side and 1.
9 of 50 laps are complete. And Davey, I don't think we've seen anybody use the high side today quite like Graham Rahal.
Yeah, look at him on the outside of Vautier right there. I mean, Vautier's trying to use that low line. Graham is looking good. We've been talking about that he's struggled, but I'll tell you, he is the fastest car on the track, it looks like.
Boy, Mark, it really looked like he had a high exit that time, almost half a car width out of the groove.
How wide is Iowa Speedway? Just that wide. Graham Rahal, lucky he didn't test that. Now this battle settles out a little bit as he grabs sole possession of 3rd place. Pagenaud content to run within 3 car lengths of Ed Carpenter as they set up for turn 1.
Davey, no doubt about it, that first group, they were much quicker than these guys were. They were running laps nearly 178 miles an hour the first handful of laps. We haven't seen the leaders get anywhere near that. In fact, Ed Carpenter, all of his laps have been in that high 173 range. Very quickly, Davey, before we talk to you about that, let's get an update on Graham Rahal from Nick Yeoman.
I'll tell you what, I don't know if anyone was excited about that start as much as his father and team owner, Bobby Rahal, jumped up and said, way to go, Graham, get after him. And now, in the last couple laps, he's urging Graham to watch those tires and, of course, watch for those marbles that are up high as well. We've had a lot of track activity, Mike. A lot of rubber's been kicked up, so any driver that wants to venture up there like Graham has and use that outside line certainly in danger of having those marbles issues.
Yeah, he continues to close the gap on second place. Simon Pagenaud is right now, I've got to assume, Davey, the only thing that Graham Rahal really has to worry about is burning off those rear tires.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he has a good race car right now, and the balance could be great. I mean, just because you're going fast doesn't mean you're going to burn those tires off. And if he has a good balance, he could be taking care of them as well. He what was that last lap?
175.724.
Yeah,
He's got easily the fastest car on the track right now. Yeah, so Ed Carpenter is also now running over 175. But, Davey, as we mentioned, the first group in that first heat, they were about 3/10 of a second quicker than these guys.
Yeah, they were 175s, 174s, but it's all kind of evening out right now. I think in the first this race, everybody kind of took it easy, but then they started putting pressure on each other, and Ed's now pulling away. I think Simon's actually got a little bit of a breathing room now with Graham, and Graham's actually pulled away from Vautier at this point. But the one struggling in this particular race, Simona Di Silvestro.
Oh, yeah.
She's way off the pace right now.
And has been most of the day. So Simona Di Silvestro in the nuclear clean air energy car having her problems. Mark James, meantime, the top three, they're threatening to check out on the rest of the field.
Yep, Tristan Vautier has a comfortable advantage over James Jakes right now. Jakes has company in the 83 machine of Charlie Kimball. As we say that, though, Charlie got on sorts a bit at the entrance to turn number 2. He falls about 4 car lengths behind him. At the rear of the field, a couple of the guys we wanted to keep our eye on, wondering if they would get things hooked up and start to move up. E.J. Vizo and Justin Wilson. The struggles continue for them as they run in front of Simona Di Silvestro. I don't know if Simona's going to be able to keep from going a lap down or not. She's in the start-finish line right now as the leader's coming off at turn 4.
Yeah, Mark, I have a feeling with only 19 of 50 laps being shown complete, that car will go at least 1 lap down, and probably very soon, as Carpenter ran a lap last time by at 173.833. Pagano at 174.184, and Rahal at 173.811. As we continue to watch the leaders, Mark, and they continue to reel in Simona Di Silvestro coming off of turn number 2.
Ed Carpenter hasn't put a wheel wrong in the 20 laps that we've run here. Simon Pagano content to run about a quarter of a straightaway behind him. A pretty good gap between those front 3, and then a very big gap from third place running Graham Rahal back to Tristan Vautier. Vautier can't quite shake loose from James Jakes. I think Jakes at this point is hoping the handling goes away on the 55 car and he can maybe move up a spot on the starting grid for tomorrow's race.
Here comes your race leader, Ed Carpenter, pulling up quickly now on Simona Di Silvestro. Mark, he'll clear her in turn number 1, or will he?
I think you'll find by and large that Simona Di Silvestro will do the sportsman-like thing and try to stay out of the way. She stays to the bottom of the racetrack. Doesn't matter if she's going to run high or run low. All race control wants her to be is consistent, so the drivers coming up on her know exactly where she's going. Again, to the bottom of the racetrack, giving Graham Rahal some room now through turn number 1, and the front 3 can now tighten up a little bit, bunch up a little bit as they clear Simona Di Silvestro.
24 of 50 laps will be complete this time by Ed Carpenter. Has been out in front since the drop of the green flag. Simon Pagano has picked up several spots. He runs second. Graham Rahal has also been very good in this second heat. He runs third. Pagano trails Carpenter by somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 8 car lengths. It's about 0.6 of a second. Graham Rahal finds himself a 2.5 seconds back. Mark, as they're already across the line. They'll see the cross flags. 25 of 50 laps are complete there in 1.
Still watching the battle between Tristan Vautier and James Jakes as it enters turn number 1. It's about 4 car lengths now as they start to prepare for Simona Di Silvestro. The key for Jakes is where Tristan Vautier will catch Simona. Looks like he may catch her between turns 1 and 2. Simona awfully slow as the car washes up off of 4. Here comes Tristan Vautier starting to close on Simona now as they head for the back straightaway.
Justin Wilson has made his way past the PDVSA car of E.J. Vizo, so Wilson is going to go from 8th to 7th. It's Carpenter, Pagano, Rahal, your top 3. Vautier, Jakes, Kimball, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Then Wilson, Vizo, and Di Silvestro as James Jakes, Mark, trying to work his way around the lap car in 1.
Well, Simona Di Silvestro got low between 3 and 4. That's where Tristan Vautier caught her. He had to lift. He lost momentum. That opened the door for James Jakes. Now Vautier wants to pass Simona to the high side. He has to lift. The car washes up. That creates an opportunity for Charlie Kimball. Charlie can't time it nearly as well, though. So the big winner there in catching Simona Di Silvestro was undoubtedly James Jakes, and now Kimball's in danger of losing a position to Justin Wilson.
Ed Carpenter, Davey, just seems to be getting better and better as we watch him circulate around this track at nearly 173 miles an hour. Pagenaud is getting quicker, though, at 174.188. Same story for Rahal. Rahal is also running laps at over 174.
Well, how about this? Surprisingly, Vito's in the back of this field. He's running 8th out of the 9 cars, but has the fastest lap of this race of a 176 flat. So he could definitely burn a lap, but whatever reason, that car, and it seems like Ryan Hunter-Reay may have that same setup out of that Andretti camp, just can't get the car right.
Let's keep in mind that the top 2 finishers will transfer into the third heat. The third heat will determine the top 10 starting positions. Where you finish in that third heat, that's where you'll start tomorrow afternoon in the Iowa Corn Indy 250. Our broadcast time, of course, 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central Time. I hope you are going to join us as, Mark, we are watching Graham Rahal now begin to pick up and make up that deficit to Simon Pagenaud. We're going to have a battle for second place in turn number 2.
Yeah, this has to make Graham awfully happy to have a competitive race car, although he didn't make a very good entry there between 1 and 2. The bump may have caught him out a little bit just over the tunnel there. He lifted a little bit when it looked like he was on a move to grab the position from the 77 machine. Now suddenly Vautier with a little bit of breathing room, and while all of this goes on, Ed Carpenter trying to stretch it out a little bit as he sets up for turn 3.
David, I don't think it can be overstated enough. Just a small loss of momentum here can cost you a ton of real estate.
Yeah, what you got to realize, these engines, they don't have a lot of power. They really don't, but we can have a lot of power because we're running over 230 miles an hour to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So they're tuned down, but so when you lift, it takes a long time to get that momentum going again. And we've seen that with Graham and several people. Matter of fact, Vautier, when he's coming to pass Simona, and guess what? She's getting ready to go a second lap down right now to Ed Carpenter.
Yeah, so Simona Di Silvestro struggling right now, Mark, but as Ed Carpenter is going to work his way around Simona Di Silvestro, here comes Pagenaud and Rahal behind her.
Yep, they're going to catch Simona in between 3 and 4, which is not a very good place to pass because she's going to be at the bottom of the racetrack. Pagenaud has to lift a little bit. That allows Graham Rahal to pull up. Graham did not lose any momentum. All of a sudden, the battle for second heats up.
Yeah, so here comes Graham Rahal as he made his way around Simona Di Silvestro in the front straight. But Mark, he kind of lost some momentum off of 2, very similar to what we saw a couple of laps earlier.
Got on Pagenaud a lot faster than he thought he would right at the apex of turn number 1, and he almost drove right up underneath the rear wing. So, yeah, he had to lift. That killed the momentum and, again, allowed Ed Carpenter to stretch his advantage out as we have about 13 laps remaining in this heat race.
Let's get an update from pit lane and Nick Yeoman. Nick?
Yeah, and he had to navigate around Simona Di Silvestro, just about the absolute worst place of the racetrack for him. Graham Rahal struggling through 1 and 2. I've noticed, and the team has noticed, he's doing a great job using that high line, the second group, to reel Simon Pagenaud in through turns 3 and 4, but just doesn't have it through the tunnel turn in 1 and 2, where that bump is really throwing that car off, Mike.
Scott Dixon and Takuma Sato transferred out of heat race number 1. Ed Carpenter right now, he looks like the one guy that you might be able to place a bet on to transfer out of heat race number 2. But, Mark, that second transfer position a long way from being decided, as we'll have 40 laps complete at the line.
Again, Graham's car working awfully well to the high side. He really got a great run there off of turn number 4. Graham Rahal trying to set him up, gets to the bottom side in turn number 1. It looks like Rahal's going to grab the spot. They may have banged wheels there at the exit of turn number 1.
Yeah, it did look like, Davey, they just might have touched as Graham got underneath Simon Pagenaud. It looked like his right rear may have made contact with Simon's left front.
Yeah, it was close. I mean, Graham, had momentum, kind of slid up, but that's, hey, it's for second spot. It's for a transfer spot, so you got to go for it.
Michael Young, if you had told me after the first practice session that Graham Rahal was going to be in position to transfer, I'd have said you're watching the wrong car, because they were really kind of off the mark after the practice session.
And not only has that team improved that car, but Graham has changed his line. At least he had to do so to get around Simon Pagenaud. I was going to make note before Graham made that pass that Simon had adjusted his line to run high to keep Graham from getting around him. Graham, at the very last moment going into 1, did a fantastic job maneuvering down and underneath Simon Pagenaud. By the time Simon realized he was underneath him, it was too late. Moved Graham up to P2.
Yeah, the best Graham could do, Mark, in the first practice session, and really the only practice session for the Eyes Out IndyCar Series here earlier today, 19th quick and he was not a happy camper when he got out of that race car. But right now, he may have something for Ed Carpenter before this one's said and done.
He's not been a happy camper a lot after this reunion, if you will, with his father, driving for Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan. A season that started out with so much promise has resulted in anything but that. In fact, his teammate James Jakes has produced better results than Graham has week in and week out. But with the parity that exists in the Eyes Out IndyCar Series, eventually owner, crew chief, engineer, driver all get on the same page, and it may have just happened before our very eyes for Graham Rahal here at Iowa Speedway.
4 laps will be complete in heat race number 2 at the line. Davey, Graham's not done. He is reeling in Ed Carpenter with 4 to go.
He sure is reeling him in, and Ed, he's better on the bottom. Graham's better on the top, and we'll see what they could do coming up. Oh, he's going to get
Boy, look at that. He gets him right there in turn number 2, Davey. It looked like Ed checked up and almost let him by.
Yeah, he didn't. I'm sure he didn't let him by, but he probably had to. But now Graham's going to run into some lap traffic right here and see if he has to check up with Simona going a 3rd lap down and Visa right in front of him.
47 laps of the 50 will run are complete, and now Graham Rahal, Mark, he's going to have to deal with lap traffic, and here comes Carpenter right back to try to get him in 3.
He'll go to the high side of Simona Di Silvestro. She leaves them plenty of room to the high side. Ed Carpenter tries to pull up on Rahal at the exit of 4, can't do it. EJ Vizo is about 20-some-odd car lengths in front of Graham Rahal. Don't know if he'll catch him. Don't know if he'll need to worry about him. It all depends on Ed Carpenter's ability to reel him in.
Jakes in the wall.
We got a problem. James Jakes off of turn number 2 makes heavy contact. As the drivers would come to the line, the yellow will be displayed, and James Jakes becomes our first incident of the race weekend here at Iowa Speedway. Davey looks like he did a half spin, made contact on the high side. So James Jakes looked like some fairly heavy damage to the left side of that race car as he bangs it hard. The car sliding up the track after he saw the rear end step out on him in the Acorn Stairlifts car, working lap number 49.
Hard hit. Hard hit. Straight backwards on the gearbox. Mike turned around, had no chance of saving it, straight back into the wall. And good thing is he's okay getting out of that car. But that was a tremendous hit and one of the fastest places on this course coming off of turn 2.
Good news is this entire Iowa Speedway outside wall is covered with the safer barrier. Checkered flag has flown. Graham Rahal does a great job coming to the front. And for Graham Rahal, this is going to change everything, Davey. And for James Jakes, he is out of the car. So for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan, this is kind of the definition of sweet and sour. They have obviously a very good result with Graham Rahal winning this heat, but they destroy a car in the process. And, Davey, you're right. That was a very hard lick as James Jakes made contact with the rear of the car first. Graham Rahal returns to pit lane. The winner of heat race number 2, he and Ed Carpenter will transfer, and Nick Yeoman, he's going to be taking off the helmet here in a second, but you got a note on Graham Rahal?
Well, I don't know if we're going to get a chance. I just heard Bobby Rahal say, hey, there's about 16, 17 minutes before the heat race 3, so hop out of that car and hurry up to this pit box. But Graham said during the last 5 laps of that race, Bobby kept telling him, hey, watch that high line, watch the marbles, watch the high line. And Graham said, hey, I know you're telling me to watch the high line, but this car works great up there. So one heck of a show put on by Graham Rahal there in heat race number 2, Mike.
Well, unfortunately for his teammate, James Jakes, the evening ends with a big hit in turn number 2. And, Davey, he was almost completely clear of turn 2. In fact, the car actually made contact on the high side just as the racetrack begins to straighten out onto the back straight. There's not a lot of straightaway here, but clearly the car stepped out on him in the turn, and then the momentum carried him up the track and into the outside wall. But we are happy to report that Jakes got out of the car under his own power.
Yeah, that's the most important thing, that he's okay. And they do have spare cars, and they'll get him fixed up and get in this race for tomorrow for sure. But like I say, most important that he is okay.
And, Davey, we saw one quick replay. It didn't look like another car was involved. It looked like he just lost it by himself,
You know, and he was actually running a good – I don't know what his last time was. It's not going to be up here, I don't think, Mike. But he was actually catching Simon, who was running 3rd. I mean, Jakes was in 4th place. He was making up some ground, and, so he was looking pretty darn good before it turned around.
Okay, well, Graham Rahal proves that Nick Yeoman, he's got himself a pretty good race car right now. Maybe not during practice, but he's got it now when it counts.
And I know your father, Bobby Rahal, was saying watch that high line and those marbles, but good Lord, how good was that car up there in the high line, Graham?
Well, I don't want to say how good because there are others listening, but it definitely felt good enough to drive ourselves from the back up to the front and win that heat. I mean, I'm very proud of the guys because we've been working hard. This hasn't been the easiest of years for us, but to get a result like this, trust me, even though it's just a heat, it means a lot to us. And, we're going to try to work all the way forward in this next heat, too, and put ourselves right up front for tomorrow.
All right, appreciate your time. We'll let you get to work. Graham Rahal going to talk with his father, Bobby Rahal, as he put on one heck of a show. And Michael Young, one guy that just missed out on advancing into heat race number 3, is with you.
Yes, but indeed, he got 1 point out of it. Simon Pagino, the driver of the number 77 Hewlett-Packard machine for Schmidt Hamilton Racing. Boy, you came out like a rocket ship. We thought you were going to get second for a minute, then Graham came out of nowhere. Talk about that battle with Graham.
Yeah, that was, that was a bit of a ballsy pass there. It really didn't give me any room. I had to go up in the gray. I gave him the favor back.
There you go. We'll talk about tomorrow now. You've got a glimpse of that car. Qualifying obviously wasn't what you wanted, but you had the benefit of 50 laps. You have a better idea what way to go with this car now.
Yeah, the HP car is really good. I mean, we had a little bit too much understeer at the end, which is why we basically lost a little bit of ground. But I think we're really close. I'm really comfortable in the car. We can run every lane, so that's very important for tomorrow's race. And 11th is a good place to start here. We started 25th and finished 5th last year, so why not doing even four places better?
There you go. Nice job tonight.
Thank you.
Simon Pagino comes home in heat number 2 in 3rd place.
Yeah, and more importantly, Davey, for Simon, the fact that he will pick up a championship point for that third place finish.
Yeah,
so.
It's not as good as transferring in, which he almost did, but you still get a point. He's one of the contenders in that top 10, so every single point means something.
Well, one guy who is always a threat when we visited Oval is Ed Carpenter, and that Fuzzy's Ultra Premium Vodka car winds up second. Nick Yeoman, you got him.
Yeah, second after that second heat race. Ed Carpenter, how was that race car, and can you guys make any changes in so little time to maybe get up front here in heat race 3?
We're trying to make a bigger change. I was pretty loose most of the race. We tried something different than what we had from practice and qualifying, just because we don't have enough practice to do all the things we need to do here. So we had to use this to try something. So it made things better, but it made the car less consistent, harder to drive. So I know we'll be able to make it better. I don't know if we're going to be able to get all the changes done we need to in time. We'll see. We should see what happens.
All right, Ed Carpenter ends up second in heat race number 2.
Okay, so as we take a look at the 10 drivers that will now line up for the third and final heat race, and of course this heat race will determine the winner of the Verizon P1 Award for this event. Will also determine which driver will take 9 points, championship points away from the track this evening. Second place will be awarded 8 points, third place 7 points, fourth place 6 points, fifth place 5 points, then sixth place 4 points. Seventh place in this final heat will receive 3 championship points, eighth place 3 points, ninth and 10th place will each be awarded 2 points, and as we mentioned, the third place finishers in each of the first 2 heat races will each receive 1 championship point. Davey, all in all, the one thing that has changed about these heat races, because we did run heats here last year, the one thing that has changed is the fact that these championship points are being awarded, so it does make them worth something. It is not simply running a heat race for the sake of running a heat race.
Yeah, they put some value to it big time, and and it's a lot of points. I mean, it's a big deal. You're talking 10 points for heat race. For example, Simon's in the game. He was only a few points out of like 4th place. Well, now, with that driver in front of him can get 8 points over him right now.
That's right.
It's a big deal.
Well, we're happy to report, Michael Young, that James Jakes is okay. So that's good for him as far as mind, body, and soul. But that race car is trash. Looks like they're going to have to maybe go to a backup car.
He managed a smile. He just got out of the infield care center. James, what happened, and you're okay?
Yeah, we're fine. The car's a little bit worse for wear. But, yeah, we just struggled really in the first part of the race. And then the car came to us towards the end, and I could see the 3 cars coming and coming. So it was a shame. You'll learn from your mistakes. But yeah, it's a shame because number 16 was pretty good. Then, like I said, we didn't make the best of starts. But hopefully we haven't given the guys too much work for tonight. And then tomorrow we can have a good run.
Address the mistake.
I just got loose coming into turn 2, as everybody does here on the bump, and it looped me around.
Glad you're okay.
Thanks.
We'll see him tomorrow. The crew will be busy tonight repairing that number 16. That's James Jakes.
Well, we've got about 10 minutes or so before we drop the green flag on the third and final heat race of the evening. Davey, we've got plenty of time here to give a shout-out to a whole lot of fans. Man, the fans are happy about being able to watch the heat races, that's for sure. Let's see, Mark Panicelli, who is one of the program directors for one of our great affiliates, WWNB and WAVQ down in the New Bern, North Carolina area, says that he's watching the stream on IndyCar.com in New Bern, loving the Saturday night heat races, short tracks and heat races, and Saturday night a piece of Americana. Mark, we couldn't agree more. Let's see, Barry and Pauline say they're watching in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And they say, Davey, on a warm night here in Iowa, they're watching in a nice, cool basement up in Manitoba. Let's see. Spirit Rider, hey, Mike, Davey from Mentor, just east of Cleveland, Ohio. Kudos for IndyCar for tonight's broadcast of the races. Seems like old time. Dave, you're exactly right. Hopefully there'll be more to come. Let's see. Sharon and Guy say, love you guys. Always turn down the TV sound and turn you guys up. Shout out to Rick Reineman and hope to see him at Pocono. Davey, they say they hope to see you at Oswego. You going to be racing again soon? You won the last time you were there.
Yeah, I won the last run there, which is the first race of the season, and I'll probably show up there a couple times before Classic, but Classic for sure.
Okay, let's see. Sharon says, go Elio. She says he's in his prime. He's not getting old at all. And Guy says, go TK. So Sharon and Guy are signing off. Greg Littleton says that he is watching and listening in Columbus, Indiana, says, hey, you guys are sounding great, but he's having some problems syncing up with the video. So we apologize for that, Greg. Could be your internet provider. Not sure what kind of pipe you got coming into your house. Simi Valley, California, Steve is checking in, says he's looking forward to seeing the IndyCar Series race at Fontana, the season finale. Says looks like it's going to be as exciting as last year's finish. And, Steve, I think you might be right. Let's see. D. Cordy and at the Park Avenue Pub. David and Susan Cordy say that they are watching. They don't tell me where, though. They're at the Park Avenue Pub, apparently.
Well, have a beer for us.
That's right, exactly. Absolutely. Let's see. Sharon says, go Elio. Guys, just want to say thanks for the great commentary. Wish we diehard fans could have TV coverage of the shootout and qualifications all the time, but the feed at IndyCar.com is performing great tonight. Audio and video have been flawless. That's nice to hear. It's always here to nice to hear good things. Let's see. Mark says, let's just say you guys are the best and make my IndyCar listening more enjoyable. That's boy, the fans are.
Love that, yeah.
See, you give them that video, and boy, they're butter in your hands.
You know, and these people they need to reach out and tell everybody how much they like it, because I agree with them. I think it needs to be on there all the time, and just like a post race, we need to be so people can see us after we go off air, Mike, and after the TV shuts down, to watch the victory celebration, watch post race, and just like these heat races, people love it.
Let's see. Daniel Sumner says that he's watching on IndyCar 13. IndyCar Forever, says Daniel. He's the assistant professor of music education and the guitar division of Music School of Visual and Performing Arts at the University of Louisiana Monroe. You just never know who your fans are, do you?
They're all over the
How about
world.
this? Tip Nunn says that Tip is watching. He says, well past midnight in London, I'm here for Wimbledon with Billie Jean King.
Wow.
That's bad, huh?
We were just talking tennis
Tip,
earlier ago.
Gotta love that. Great to hear from you, Tip, who calls Golden, Colorado home. Let's see. We've got lots more here. Boy, I'm probably going to get this wrong, though, as far as pronouncing the town. Wapakoneta? Does that sound right in Ohio? Did I get it? I got it. Michael Young, you're an Ohio guy. You're a Buckeye. Is that right?
You nailed it. Wapakoneta, Ohio, home of the Neil Armstrong Museum.
There you go. Well, let's see. He says that Indy fan says that he's lying here in bed listening and watching in Wapakoneta, Ohio, wishing I was there. Want to say hello to his buddy Jim Ross in the stands. So there you go. Hello to Wapakoneta. Let's see. Roger Nebelsick and family in Belleville, Illinois, say that they're watching and listening on the app connected to the car. They're on I-55 South, traveling towards St. Louis. So, man, The Internet's a great thing.
It is a great thing.
Technology is something. John C. says, oh, man, is he in a beautiful place. He's at Topsail Island, North Carolina. And John C. says he's watching on the IndyCar 13 app, and he wants Marco Andretti to take it all.
Well, he could do it. Marco's been looking good. Now, hopefully his cars aren't to set up the same as Viso's and his other teammate Ryan Hunter-Reay, because they've had some problems. Marco has been fast today.
John, I tell you what, Topsail Island is a wonderful place. Having lived in eastern North Carolina for many years, that is really lovely down there. Let's see. Hey, guys, this is Jeanette who says she's watching online on her very vintage MacBook. I'm 5.5 hours ahead of us in windy Plymouth, Devon, England. I wonder if she's a James Jakes fan.
Well, more than likely.
Or Justin Wilson
Wilson fan as well, yeah.
Yeah, Jeanette, you'll have to let us know who you're pulling for. Steve Wright says, Steve says, my name is Jocelyn. I'm 12, and I'm at a DC United soccer game. I have a cat named after James Hinchcliffe.
There you go. He looks like a cat sometimes.
Kinda. What I want to know, though, is why Jocelyn is on, it must be on her dad's account. Yeah, because it had Steve's name on there. Larry and Brenda Bender, Ed Carpenter's uncle and aunt, they say that they're listening, as always, in Marshall, Illinois, and watching on their IndyCar 13 app. So it's great to have them. Let's see, we've got about 3 more minutes, so I'll try to get to as many of these as I possibly can as we're coming to you live. Well, I tell you what, let's check in with Justin Wilson before we get to more of our fan shout-outs. We always would prefer hearing from drivers, obviously, but we don't want to short the fans, do we, Nick?
I don't think so. A lot of those fans like Justin Wilson.
That's
and we
right.
Appreciate them tuning in tonight. Justin, you were charging hard there at the end of that second heat race. Talk about the track conditions and maybe what's going to face these drivers as they get set here for heat race number 3.
Yeah, we had a good end to the race. The first half was pretty difficult. We're just trying to get settled in and feel what the car was going to do, but the Boy Scouts America car was quick at the end. We never really dropped off. We were running the same lap times last lap as we did on our first. It's windy out there. These guys are going to deal with that. Tire degradation is part of it for some other cars. You know, they take off and run the 18 flats at the start of the stint, and then they're doing 19.1, 19.2s at the end. So it'll be interesting to see who's the rabbit and who's the hare. But I think it's going to be an interesting final, and see who gets to the front.
All right, appreciate your time. Justin Wilson ended up 4th in that second heat race. He and many of these other drivers, Mike, happy to report that many of them haven't left the pit boxes. They're going to stay and watch this final heat race number 3 with quite a few points on the line.
Absolutely, and good to hear from Justin Wilson. Let's see, Tim says that he is watching the race control feed from Turlock, California, and he says he loves the heat race format. Tim, who is Tim Shipp, who's the assistant head football coach at Evansville Wrights High School in Indiana, says that Coach Shipp and his wife Debbie are watching and listening in southern Indiana. Great to hear from you, Coach. Tony says that he's watching on IndyCar.com and has listened to us for years. He's from Crawfordsville, Indiana. Let's see. Brian says that he is watching the heat races on IndyCar.com from Clearwater, Florida. And he also says that he's been thinking about Dan Weldon all day long. And, Brian, we think about Mr. Weldon an awful lot as well. Thanks for checking in. Let's see. Don says that he's in Columbus watching the heats. So, Don, thanks very much for checking in. Lawrence Stone says that he's watching the IndyCar qualification heat races from Palm Beach Gardens, Florida on IndyCar 13, another beautiful part of the world. Let's see. Enjoying the coverage from IndyCar.com on our internet TV. Cheering on TK this weekend, signed Laura, Kathy, and Larry in Yorktown, Indiana. Let's see. Tomcat says watching from northern Michigan on both the live stream on IndyCar.com and the IndyCar 13 app. So, Davey, he's really got it covered. He's got it going both ways.
It, yeah.
That's right. Let's see. Matt and Jackie Richter say they're enjoying the Iowa Heats from Central PA. We'll be seeing you soon at Pocono. Let's see. Hey, race fans and all the crew at IndyCar Radio. Shelby is listening from Anderson, Indiana. Hi, Shelby, to you. Jeff Roberts says, well, I hate that these heats aren't on TV, but, of course, they are on IndyCar.com, so you're able to watch them there, Jeff, and we hope you're enjoying them. And Jeff says he always also enjoys listening to the superior IndyCar Radio broadcast. So Wow, superior. That's throwing around some nice accolades now. Steve Crooks is checking in from Gilbert, Arizona. Steve, it's great to have you. Cheryl Clue is checking in from Switzerland, Davey. Cheryl's a big fan.
Her. Yeah, we haven't seen her for a while.
Yeah, she says when she sent this, which was about 30 minutes ago, she said it was 1:25 a.m.
Yeah, well, she'll stay up. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
she's
covering both. She's watching both IndyCar and Le Mans action, so she's got all kinds of racing going. Let's see. Marco is checking from Edmonton. Marco, it's great to have you. Let's see. Dean Newman says that he's watching on IndyCar.com, and his name is Ari, named after Ari Luyendyk. Mark Janes, Charlie Kimball is joining you on the roof here at Iowa Speedway.
Yeah, up here with a spotter. Charlie, what brings you up?
Well, I just figured watch the third heat from up here, see what lines are developing, and see what people can run throughout the night as the track changes each lap, really, even in the second heat race. So it's going to continue to change after the Indy Lights race tonight and then before our race tomorrow. So kind of see how it develops and see if we can learn anything.
I know for us as broadcasters, this has been a long day. What's it been like for you guys?
Yeah, it's not been too bad. The day's broken up well with practice and then qualifying and heading into the heat races. And now that it's starting to cool off, it's turning into a nice evening.
How much is this track going to change over the course of this day?
Well, I think it'll continue to adjust and lines will change, the grip will change, the rubber will go down differently, throughout the course of the 250-lap race tomorrow. So it's a good opportunity for me to get up on the roof and watch what people are doing and watch how it changes just in a 50-lap heat.
You want to call a couple laps? You want to take my place for a couple laps?
No, I think I'll be good just watching.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
That's Charlie Kimball.
Yellow flag is waving, so the cars will roll off of pit lane. As they do, we'll try to get a few more fan shout-outs in. Ron Packard says hello. He's watching on IndyCar 13 from Columbus, Ohio. Great to have Bree. It looks like it's Brian, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And she says that she's watching the heat races from Sudbury, Ontario, Canada, and would like to say a happy 35th birthday to DW, to Dan Weldon. We sure do miss him. Shout out to James Jakes and the Aircorn Stairlifts car. Jake C. Nation, says Sean Herbst, who is a big fan, and it's good to hear from Sean. Jamie LaCivita is checking in, and she says thanks to you, Davey, and the entire team for the informative commentary, watching from her couch in Grays Lake, Illinois, and wish she was in the stands right here at Iowa Speedway. Ann and Kevin Benson say they're watching from flooded Calgary, Alberta, using Apple TV full screen projection.
There you go.
So they are not limited to a little 2-inch by 2-inch screen. They're watching on the big set. And Sean Lucas from New Jersey at home cooking on the grill shrimp with his St. Elmo's cocktail sauce and watching on his iPad. So just a little insight, a little glimpse into some of the fans, the great fans that we have that check in with us each and every week. And sorry we couldn't get to all of them. Wish we could, but we were flooded. I think, Davey, in those few minutes, I got something like 400 emails from around the world.
Great.
So we checked in, I think, in 4 or 5 different countries and of course, many states here around the country. Okay, let's get an update on Tony Kanaan downstairs. Nick Yeoman?
Mike, this is going to shock you and everybody watching and listening at home, but Tony Kanaan is planning on going to the outside when we start this race. So he's going to start fourth on the outside of row number 2. Better keep your eye on that number 11 car because Kanaan getting ready to put on a show here at the start.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a long way from being a surprise.
That's a long way. He'll start on the outside every single race he's ever been in or going to be in. He'll shoot to that outside. Doesn't always work. Remember in Texas, he said, hey, these guys are going to this outside line on the first land. They're crazy up here.
He doesn't have that far to go. He's starting in row 2. Right. In fact, here's the starting lineup. Castro-Neves and Andretti in row number 1. Power and Kanaan in row 2. Hinchcliffe and Servia in row 3. Ray Hall and Dixon in row 4. Carpenter and Sato in row number 5. Mark Janes, that's the lineup. Heat race number 3. A bunch of points and the pole, along with the Verizon P1 Award, all up for grabs in this third heat tonight here at Iowa Speedway.
Watch this cream rise to the top. Elio Castro-Neves will grab P1. Marco will tuck in behind him, and yellow flag. They jump the start.
Yeah, they didn't like that one at all. So the yellow flag comes out. So, Mark, they will very quickly go back into their 2x2 formation on the back straight, and we'll try to do it all again.
Try to not get too out of sorts as they come off of turn number 4. Elio Castroneves to the bottom. Marco is to his high side. Then Will Power and Tony Kanaan. Then it's Hinch and Oriol Servi. A little better alignment coming off of 4 this time.
Green flag will wave. Elio Castroneves will get the jump on Marco Andretti. Will Power on the inside line. Keep your eye, Mark James, on Tony Kanaan as he'll already pick up third.
Hit the button as Power gets a bit out of sorts off of turn number 2. Now Tony Kanaan wants a piece of Marco Andretti. Wants to get to the bottom side of the RC car. Nope, he'll stay to the high side. Second thought. That's about a half a groove higher. Now he'll slip right into the stream of Marco Andretti as they enter turn 1.
Tony Kanaan in the Sunoco livery as he is going to try to pull alongside, and he will. Marco Andretti, and he'll make the pass. So Tony Kanaan, Mark, will go to second, headed to 3.
Fast car is fast too. Will Power is not lost a couple positions. Now Ed Carter wants a piece of Power. He'll tuck in the Verizon cars. They set up.
I got Dick was going to be shot out of a gun to start this race, Davey. Right now, he's still buried in the back of the field. He's running 10th. Can't get by the 4-car of Servia.
Yeah, Servia is the one that's fell back, and you got to remember, everybody it was behind him has been in a race, so they're kind of used to what the car was going to do. Servia was the last one in this group that didn't know what his car was going to do. He's making a pass back on Sato, making one more spot up.
Well, right now, Tony Kanaan has the quickest lap in this third and final heat at better than 177.5 miles an hour. Kanaan runs second. Out in front, it's Elio Castroneves. Our championship leader, Mark James, leads Kanaan by about 4 car lengths off of turn number 2.
Sato's not fast. He lost a spot to the number 4 machine of Oriol Servi about a half a lap ago. He was in danger of falling to dead last to Scott Dixon. He's able to punch the button, get up on the wheel, pull away from him by about 4 car lengths. The front 4 starting to stretch themselves out a bit from Will Power. It is Elio Castroneves leading TK, then Marco, then Hinch. Now Power all of a sudden looks like he wants to get racy again as Ed Carpenter bobbles off at turn number 2. That sees his mirrors full up of Graham Rahal.
Will Power just had the quickest lap of the race at 177.649, so Will Power has found his momentum. Right now it's Castroneves, Kanaan, Andretti, Hinchcliffe, and Power, your top 5. Ed Carpenter runs 6th. Graham Rahal is 7th. And Servia, Sato, and Dixon. Here comes Elio Castroneves off of turn number 4. 8 of 50 laps will be complete. Battle looks like Mark may pick up here for second as Marco Andretti trying to reel back in that 11 car.
RC Cola car getting fast again suddenly. Hinch trying to pull up to join that battle for second and third between Marco and TK. Elio sees that battle shape up and starts to inch away ever so slightly. Now hits the button. The GoDaddy.com machine to the bottom of Marco. He'll grab the 3rd spot in turn number 2.
Davey, it looked like Marco a little bit of momentum coming off of turn number 4, and Hinch was able to take advantage that time.
Yeah, May going to lose one more to Will Power. No, he's going to stay in front of Will Power, but that was it. He looked like he just slid up a little bit, had to lift out of that throttle so slightly, and then, like I say, you lose so much momentum with these cars that the guy behind you will suck you up.
Will Power's going to look to the outside. He's going to get past Marco in 2.
Graham Rahal's unfolding it like when he's hit the button the last couple of laps. All of a sudden now he is working on Ed Carpenter. That is what's on more. Now Sato got to his high side. He'll move Sato to dead last now as they turn to
maybe the problem for Graham Rahal is he may have a race car coming, but he can't let Castroneves and get too far away.
Good with now. He has that line and doesn't lose any heat. He's as good on the first lap as he is in the end. And he's sucking up Ed right now, but Ed's actually moved up. He was running on the bottom in that heat race, and he's actually moved up to that second line right now, trying to see if it'll work for him.
Marco Andretti right now, despite the fact that he's dropped back to 5th place, has the quickest lap of this heat at 178.080. Last time by it was Will Power at 177.845 is Mark. We are 13 complete. James Hinchcliffe trying to work on Tony Kanaan for second.
Hinch crashed out of last year's event with like a far better fate this time around. He'll run the drag race with Tony Kanaan into turn number 1. Hinch has the bottom. TK has the high side. It's the GoDaddy.com machine by a nose. Speaking of a nose, Tony Kanaan has an advantage by just that much now in turn 3.
Graham Rahal got past Ed Carpenter, but Davey, as he did in turn 2, the Midas car washed way up the track and lost all the momentum that was gained, and Ed was able to get him right back.
Yeah, had a great pass, actually, something like he did with Pagano on the first run. But then, like I said, he just got too high himself and had to lift.
Boy, a great battle for second continues, Mark. Side by side off of 4. Hinch on the inside, Kanaan on the outside.
Nobody loves it more than Elio Castroneves. While they battle side by side, he is flat trying to check out. Now all of a sudden, Will Power and Marco Andretti get racy with those two who are running side by side. Power is right there. Hinch and TK still hooked up as they head down the front straightaway for the 17th time.
Hinch has the inside line, but Davey, it took him 2 full laps to finally get all the way past the 11 car of Tony Kanaan.
Yeah, I mean, Hinch was not giving Tony any room coming off of turn 4, and I think Tony finally had to lift to keep from having a bit of a rub there, and he got by him.
Mark, as you mentioned, though, Elio Castroneves was able to use that battle to his advantage, and now he has opened up about a 2.5 lead over James Hinchcliffe.
Back in the pack, Graham Rahal with an erratic swing off of turn number 4. That gave Scott Dixon the room he needed to move up. Dixon is currently running 6th as he works his way by Rahal. Graham slips a little bit, and he sees Oriole Servia and that National Guard machine start to pull up on him. About the only driver with clean green racetrack right now, beside the leader, Elio Castroneves, is Ed Carpenter, who's currently running all by his lonesome in the 5th position as he glides down the banking of the exit of 2.
Listening to live coverage of the 3rd and final IndyCar Series qualifying heat from Iowa Speedway as we get set for tomorrow's Iowa Corn Indy 250. Race number 10 on the 2013 IZOD IndyCar Series schedule. The way they come across the line, Mark, when they complete this race is the way the top 10 will line up for tomorrow afternoon's race.
That's the interesting thing about this heat race. You look at the likes of Oriole Servia and Graham Rahal and Takuma Sato, and you say, well, how can they be so excited about running in the back of the pack? Granted, they'll have some concerns in terms of the setup of the race car, but that's still got to be an awfully good feeling knowing that no matter how badly you do in this event, you'll start no worse than 10th, and more importantly, you're going to pick up some valuable points.
Oriole Servia, it looked like, had the momentum to get underneath Graham Rahal, lost it coming off of turn number 2, and then had to check up just a bit as Takuma Sato, Davey, got underneath him on the back straight.
Yeah, I think what happened to Graham, he was so fast in that high line, but when he passed Ed Carpenter, he slid way up high in that grade. I think he must have got marbles on his tires, which sometimes is really hard to get those off, and sometimes changes the balance of the tire itself and gets them to vibrate. So he's fallen off pace a lot in this race compared to what he was in the first one. So that happened, but like you said, Sato is the one struggling in this heat.
Great battle for 4th place, Mark, as Marco Andretti has grabbed the inside line on Tony Kanaan. Kanaan continues to fight him on the outside.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of side-by-side battles in this one. Marco wins that battle for now. He glides up on TK. Tony Kanaan wanted the high side. I think Marco knew that, saw him in his mirror, and moved up ever so slightly. That caused TK to lift a little bit. That puts the car length advantage at about 2 for Marco as they come off in turn 4.
Davey, we're still seeing some of these laps being turned in better than 178 miles an hour. Woo. So this 3rd and final heat, a very quick one, as we are now just past the halfway point.
And how about Will Power as he fell back to 5th place on that start, maybe even 6th, is right now getting ready to challenge Hinchcliffe for that 2nd position.
So Elio Castroneves, our championship leader, is out in front. Elio would love nothing more than to be able to grab the Verizon P1 award. And, of course, the 9 championship points, Davey, that would be oh so key. And let's keep in mind that the driver who's second in the championship, who came in 16 points back into Iowa Speedway, Ryan Hunter-Reay, he did not even transfer into this 3rd and final
Yeah, that's
heat.
right. No, and there's a lot of guys, that were in that top 10 that did not transfer into this, and it's a painful deal when you don't make this heat.
Elio Castroneves, Mark, looking to pick up 9 championship points. Of course, the check and the trophy for winning the Verizon P1 award. But right now, I'm sure those points, that's pretty much all that's on Elio's mind.
Yep, no question, and every point counts, especially when we get towards September and October. Scott Dixon right now is working on the car of Ed Carpenter. Carpenter trying to hold him off now as Ed works his way off of turn number 2. Has about a half a car length advantage. Another pretty good battle continues between Graham Rahal and Takuma Sato. That is the battle for 8th position. James Hinchcliffe for now is able to hold off Will Power, although Power gets a nice run at the exit of turn number 2. Really dials in the number 27 GoDaddy.com car. He gets another nice run at the exit of 4.
Will Power going to try to set him up on the high side. Is he going to have enough room? No, Marquez, it looked like perhaps James Hinchcliffe ran him a little higher than maybe normal, but now coming off of 2, Will Power is going to find the room up on the high side. He'll make the pass.
Off of 2, off of 4, the Verizon car is very, very good for Will Power, much better than Hinch. I think Hinch had trouble holding his line because the car got a little loose on him. He had to lift a little bit. That gave Power all the advantage that he needed. Suddenly, Team Penske runs 1-2 here in this last heat race of the night at Iowa Speedway.
Ed Carpenter and Scott Dixon, Davey, putting on a pretty good show. This is their 2nd full lap as they have gone side by side. Dixon on the inside, Carpenter the outside.
This is their 4th lap side by side. 4th lap, literally side by side for 4 in a row, and Dixon finally gets by him.
So they break it off there, and just as they did, goes to the inside, Davey. That time looked like he was going to have a dandy little short track move. He just wasn't able to pull it off.
Wasn't able to do that IRP slide job, as we used to call it, but he lost a little position doing it. Now they're catching up to Tony Kanaan right now.
So Tony Kanaan, who started quickly, went to the front, then dropped back. Tony Kanaan right now being shown in 5th place. Castro Neves is your leader. As now we watch Scott Dixon, Mark James. He's going to work on Graham Rahal in 3.
The number 9 machine of Scott Dixon sets him up in turn number 3.
Kanaan.
Tries to slip underneath Tony Kanaan. Kanaan and the Sunoco machine. From a distance, Mike, it's hard to tell those two cars apart. Yep. They run side by side. TK's car a little more comfortable to the high side, but all of a sudden, Dixon hit a button. They're dead even into 3.
Yeah, Davey, in fact, we've got 3 cars that from a distance on the back straight really look alike as far as the schemes. Dario Franchitti's car, the 11 car of Tony Kanaan, and of course the car that always carries the black and the black and yellow scheme. We're talking about the 15 of Graham Rahal. But from the back straight, all 3 of those cars look very
you
similar.
Can't tell. You had to know that was Kanaan for position right there to tell it apart, because it does look like Graham's car that we see week in, week out.
Yep, so we continue to watch Elio Castro Neves. 37 laps, soon to be complete for Elio. Mark, right now it looks like the only driver he's going to have to fight for this win is going to be his teammate Will Power.
Will Power is looking awfully racy in the number 12 car. He is really pulling Elio in. I don't know that Elio's going to have to deal with lap traffic or not. If so, it will be Oriol Servia and then Graham Rahal. He starts to catch him a little bit off of turn number 4, but as he does so, all of a sudden, that number 12 Verizon machine looks awfully fast as Will Power is in hot pursuit of his teammate Elio Castro Neves off of turn 2.
Elio Castro Neves now, Davey, going to have to hold off his teammate and deal with lap traffic as they head into turn number 4 and getting set to complete 39 of 50 laps. 11 laps remain here at Iowa.
Well, these guys are not only going for the front row, but going for that extra point. There's a point difference between those two positions, and they both could use it, and not especially Will Power trying to climb his way back up in the championship.
Okay, lap 40. 40 will be complete at the line live from Iowa Speedway on a Saturday night. The 3rd and final heat race. Qualifying will be wrapped up after this, and we will know the starting lineup for tomorrow afternoon's Iowa Corn Indy 250. Will Power trying to reel in Elio Castro Neves off of turn number 2, Mark, as Elio now will try to get past Oriol Servia.
Yep, Servia bottling him up just a little bit, not doing anything wrong. He's holding his racing line, and now Elio moves to the bottom side. Will Power has lifted a little bit, and Mike, you got to wonder. I know team orders, we don't know exactly what they are. As it looked like Servia and Castro Neves may have touched off of turn number 2, but does Power pass Elio? Power's shot of winning a championship, Mike, might be long gone, but does he take valuable points away from his teammate who's very much in contention for one?
Boy, if I had to make the call, Davey, I would say no, that Elio wins this race and gets those 9 points.
Well, he could, like Mark hit nail on the head, he could use them more so than Will, because I think Will's too far out of the game to win it, where Elio's leading the championship right now. But then again, they both want to win this race.
That's right.
And I don't think that he could pass him in clear track. I think it's going to have to be because of lap car, and this could be it right here.
This could be
with
it.
Graham Rahal. They both had to lift, though. They both had to lift for Graham, which gave Castro Neves the advantage.
Elio Castro Neves has led since the drop of the green flag. We are about to wrap up lap number 44. 6 laps will remain at the line. Elio right now bottled up behind Graham Rahal. Mark Graham started strong, now beginning to fade just a little bit here in the stretch and is getting ready to go a lap down.
Rahal been shown the move over sign the past couple of times, and he's holding his line, but Elio can't seem to get a good run on him. Meanwhile, Will Power seems to be content to run right behind his teammate because he's in no danger of losing his position to James Hinchcliffe. There's just 5 laps left, and Will Power with a firm command on second place.
Working lap 46, and Davey.
They're riding.
Yeah.
They're riding. Yeah, no doubt. Mark hit the nail on the head. That's how they're going to finish. Unless it's an easy pass, Elio's not going to take it. Every time they get into turn 1, he just lifts out of the throttle and lets him go. He got far enough beside him this time. He went in and passed him, but he wasn't going to take any risk. And Will would do the same. Will wasn't putting any pressure on Elio.
Yeah, you got to keep in mind that Elio right now is the championship leader, and Mark Will comes in 11th in the championship. And as you mentioned, he would need some sort of miracle here in the second half to find himself fighting for the title at Fontana.
Well, and again, those are the advantages to having a teammate, and that's the way this game is played from time to time. We go all the way back. You can go back years, as a matter of fact, but the one I think that's most notable is Marco's first win at Sonoma. We have all kind of cocked a smile over that one over the years, involving the spin by Brian Herta. Meanwhile, Will Power's in a drag race with Graham Rahal down the main straightaway. Finally makes the pass. It looks like Power's got a firm grasp grasp on that second position as a couple of cars in terms of Rahal and Servia stand between he and third place running James Hinchcliffe.
White flag being displayed, so Elio Castroneves less than a lap away from collecting the 29th pole of his major open-wheel career. Elio Castroneves still chasing his first championship, despite the fact that he's won a lot of races, 3 times the Indy 500 champion, but maybe he has edged a little bit closer. The Verizon P1 Award is going to go to Elio Castroneves as he wins the 3rd and final heat race of the night. He will pick up 9 big championship points in the process. Will Power winds up 2nd. James Hinchcliffe is 3rd. Marco Andretti is 4th. And Scott Dixon winds up 5th. Ed Carpenter is 6th. Takuma Sato is 7th. Tony Kanaan runs 8th. Graham Rahal is 9th. And Davey Oriole Servia comes home 10th. Good run for Elio Castroneves.
Yeah, and almost every car in this field had faster lap times than the first 2 heat races, Mike. So that tells you these guys are the guys to beat. They qualified there for a reason. They're running up there for a reason. And even if you finish in the top of those heats and you think you're fast, you better strap some more on because these guys in this heat are really fast.
5 fastest lap speeds in that 3rd and final heat belong to Marco Andretti. He was quickest at 178.080. To James Hinchcliffe at 178.031. Elio at 177.857. Will Power at 177.845. And Tony Kanaan at 177.502 as Davey Elio Castroneves led all 50 laps. He'll start on pole here tomorrow afternoon. And obviously at this racetrack, we see a lot of crazy things happen, but starting on pole here is certainly a huge advantage.
Oh, a huge advantage, Mike, and that's where those points, the championship, is looking more and more like Castroneves is really the guy to beat in this challenge. Somebody else is tuning in with us. The Bittenhausen boys, Gary's sons, Gary and Todd, are on their. What did they say? They were on their Verizon cell phone.
Super. So you're getting text yourself.
Get text, yeah, that's cool.
A lot of folks like to check in during the shout-outs. Okay, so we're hoping to perhaps grab a quick word from some of our top finishers. Elio Castroneves remains in the car. Looks like they're probably going to push him to victory lane for the celebration. As Strap Davey, every time I see him take a checkered flag, I expect to look down and see him hanging from the fence.
Yeah, that's the first time in a long time.
Yeah,